The Eagles, soundtracked by Take It Easy, Hotel California, and dozens of other hits, are rock royalty. 50 years after their debut, Don Henley, Glenn Frey, and company still loom large in American music, but behind the harmony and country rock sheen, the Eagles have long carried a darker legacy. Writers note that Henley and Frey ran the band like a benevolent dictatorship, and that, as The Ringer put it, their modus operandi has always been dedicatedly off-putting. In plain terms, the band members fought just as often as they sang. Decades of feuds, lawsuits, and backstage drama left scars, many of which still linger, even as Henley and the remaining Eagles prepare to bow out of live performance. Frontman Don Henley, now 77, has become the public face of these old wounds. In recent years, he's alternated between nostalgia and blunt honesty, a shift that some fans now interpret as him destroying the cherished Eagles myth. At the same time, longtime guitarist Joe Walsh, also 77, has kept silent about past slights, leading rumors that he may have been downplaying some truths. With the band's legacy under the microscope, it's time to separate fact from fictio. From its Los Angeles origins in 1971, the Eagles' rise was meteoric. Co-founders Henley, drums, vocals, and Glenn Frey, guitar, vocals, joined by Bernie Leadon and Randy Meisner, crafted lush country rock harmonies that hooked America. By the mid-70s, they were household names. Albums like Hotel California, 1976, became cultural touchstones. Their success was undeniable, multi-million selling in Rolling Stone's words. But behind the hits, the group's internal engine began to misfire. Even in the early days, members were quick to clash. They complained about producers, record labels, and even each other. They were mad at the press, the label, the publicists, promoters, fellow musicians, one another, as one critic summarizes. By 1975, original guitarist Bernie Leadon left, fed up with the band's drug-fueled excess and creative fighting. He quipped at the time that he was just burned out from the experience. Into the lineup stepped Joe Walsh, a wild-haired guitar virtuoso fresh from the James Gang. Walsh injected new energy and more fuel to the fire. On stage, his flamboyant solos and quick wit thrilled fans, but they also disrupted the tight control Frey and Henley had over the Eagles' image. In interviews decades later, Henley admitted that bringing Walsh aboard meant adding somebody who was more of a wild card to a band already under intense pressure. Crew drama often became part of the act. Still, Walsh's presence helped propel the next era of Eagles music. But as the 1970s wore on, the strains grew harder to contain. By 1979, the follow-up to Hotel California was floundering. After years of constant touring and drug excess, the Eagles were in a dark place, Henley later recalled. "We were doing way too many drugs, just fucked up all the time because we felt this tremendous pressure," he confessed. "We should have taken a year off, or hired a band psychiatrist, or both." Tensions exploded on stage and off. By 1980, the band split. Henley was famously sarcastic about their breakup, joking they'd play again when hell freezes over. In the aftermath, the Eagles' legacy was in limbo. Henley and Frey went solo and scored hits, but their partnership remained at odds. For 15 years, the Eagles lay dormant, their catalog selling steadily but the members fighting to move on. Meanwhile, Randy Meisner and Bernie Leadon bore bitter grudges. Most famously, Randy Meisner was rumored to have punched Glenn Frey. During one of their last shows, the story goes he hadn't been singing his part of Take It to the Limit. These feuds were the subject of bootleg gossip and television retrospectives, but in the early 1990s, no one anticipated the Eagles would ever reunite, much less bicker on a new stage. Then, in 1994, against all odds, Hell Freezes Over happened. The Eagles took the stage again, this time with Don Felder, their former guitarist who had joined in 1974 and co-wrote their hits, including Hotel California. The reunion sparked headline tours and a live album, but with Felder back, old conflicts soon resurfaced. The most shocking moment came in late 1994. During a live performance, Glenn Frey lurched at Felder in anger. In what became one of rock's most infamous confrontations, Frey menaced Felder with the words, "I'm gonna kill you, I can't wait." This hissed threat was captured on film and symbolized the festering bad blood. Felder later described the band atmosphere as a gas chamber, but the raw footage tells the story on its own. Don Henley has since acknowledged just how bad things got. In a 2015 profile, he recalled the Hotel California era as a dark place overflowing with drugs and conflict. Frey's public outburst was no isolated freakout, Henley implies. It reflected years of accumulating anger. By the late 1990s, the Eagles' bitter disputes turned legal. In 2000, Don Felder, frustrated by reported slights over songwriting, credits, and promotion, was fired again. He then sued Henley and Frey for $54 million, claiming breach of contract and deception. Henley and Frey countersued. The family feuding that began in the 1970s had spilled into court. In 2007, after protracted hearings, all parties quietly settled. Public details were scarce, but the settlement confirmed the Eagles' internal war. Henley never forgot Felder's claims. In that 2015 Guardian interview, he blasted Felder's memoir, titled Heaven and Hell, as dishonest. Henley snarled that many outsiders believe a lot of the bullshit in Don Felder's book and see him and Frey as some kind of tyrants. He dismissed Felder's tell-all as a nasty little low cheap shot, adding that he could write stuff about him that'd make your mustache curl. It was Henley at his most defensive, a rock star telling fans to doubt the revisionists. In short, Henley's story is clear. He and Frey held things together, and anyone who left or complained was simply bitter. He even brags that we are largely responsible for the longevity and success of this band, because we did it our way. When he talks, Don Henley frames himself as the guardian of the true Eagles' legacy, protecting it from Felder's version. Fast forward to today. Don Henley, now 77, is far from the angry young drummer. In interviews on the Eagles' farewell tour, his tone has softened. After a June 2024 concert in Manchester, one of their final UK gigs, Henley gratefully called the Eagles' 50-year career really a blessing, thanking fans who had stuck with us. He also acknowledged the band's personal toll. When asked about the relationships inside the Eagles, Henley admitted, "Any band will tell you that it's not easy. There are great difficulties in keeping the relationships healthy when you work so closely and intimately with other people." In other words, even Henley conceded that the Eagles had never been an easy ride backstage. So has Henley destroyed the Eagles' legacy? Not quite. On record, he mostly praises it. But privately, he's honest about the struggles. As one biographer notes, Henley in later life seems bent on burying hatchets, yet not everyone's hatchet is buried equally. In practice, the old charges remained intact. He told one interviewer that some things should go to our graves, some things are nobody's fucking business. That attitude suggests he's content with the Eagles' legend continuing, as long as it stays on the band's terms. Meanwhile, what of Joe Walsh? Walsh has long been known as the Eagles' resident joker and guitar whiz. He joined the band in 1975 and rejoined every time the Eagles regrouped. Unlike Henley, Walsh rarely publicly air disputes. In interviews today, he focuses on the music and the fans. For example, in October 2024, Walsh spoke to Rolling Stone about the band's new Las Vegas shows, complaining only about technical issues of the Sphere Theater. "It's very different on stage. At first it was maybe a deal breaker, but we've learned how to do it," he said of the venue's delayed speakers. Notice what Walsh doesn't mention. There's no hint in his comments of any long-standing band drama. Even at age 77, Walsh's public remarks are about solving concert problems, not settling old scores. There's no Rolling Stone headline of Joe calling Henley a tyrant or accusing Henley of lies. In fact, aside from his sharp humor, Walsh has largely remained diplomatic. Of course, some fans do whisper about it. The title of our story comes from the rumor mill that maybe Walsh has been lying to us about the band's past. But the evidence doesn't support a conspiracy. Walsh's autobiography and interviews never present an alternate Eagles history. He's joked in the past that the band's perfectionism was intense, but he's equally praised Henley's drumming and Frey's songwriting. In the absence of a direct statement from Walsh disputing Henley's account, all we have are Henley's fierce denials of Felder's version. So where does that leave us? Henley's comments at 77 combine gratitude with candor. He still reveres the Eagles' accomplishments, but he's no longer afraid to acknowledge the thornier parts of their saga. As he once pointed out, every great band has infighting. The Stones, The Who, Pink Floyd, you name it. The Eagles were no exception. If Henley's honesty has ruffled some feathers, it's mostly because we fans prefer our legends polished. Joe Walsh's role seems to have been, and still is, that of the unflappable sideman. He brought a dose of levity to a band often on the brink. In his telling, the Eagles' story is basically what it appears. A country rock outfit that hit the big time, went through hell internally, reunited, and now is calling it quits. Whether he lied about anything, Walsh himself has given no hints.